up? Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And if you're not, well, welcome back. But today I thought we would try something new for this video. So I've always loved like personal videos where content creators have sat down and kind of talked about their journey or just something that means something like important to them. So I decided that I really wanted to try it. Brie and I, if you scroll all the way down my YouTube, we started like a podcast kind of video where it was called like Let's Be Real. And I just find those so cute, so authentic that we're just talking to the camera and just having fun. So I'm going to try something new on my YouTube, like a whole series where I just kind of talk to the camera without like moving around and vlogging. Obviously I'm still going to vlog, and vlogging's like my favorite thing to do. But I thought this would kind of be a cool change of pace. So we're going to talk about my recruiting journey and how I became a Division I soccer player. To even say I'm a Division I soccer player to this day is absolutely crazy, and I definitely don't take any day for granted. I think it's the coolest thing ever. So I'm going to talk about my recruiting journey and how it was a little bit more unique than most people's, and kind of the tools that worked for me, what I did during my recruiting period, and kind of, not to be dramatic, but my recruiting period changed my career path for sure and everything I do in my life, so let's get right into it. Okay, so we're going to start this story way back when I was a little girl. So basically, from the time I can remember, I always wanted to be a college soccer player. I remember going to games with my dad, my family, my mom, everybody, and just like I had so much respect, and I like idolized the girls that were in college at the time when I was, a young girl, and that is just kind of like what drove me to become a college soccer player, because I, as a little girl, loved watching them. I thought they were the coolest people on planet Earth, and I honestly still do. I still look at other girls around me and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So I grew up in a soccer household. I don't know if I've said that, but everyone around me was basically soccer based. They had some ties, some connection, so it was very cool, and I'm very fortunate. So going through from elementary school all the way to high school, there's 3 main levels within my local youth club that I played for. So it was recreation, challenge, and classic, and I basically worked my way up from rec to challenge, then from challenge to classic, and so I was on one of the top teams towards the end. And every year I had moved up, I had worked my way basically from the bottom to the top, just because I love soccer and that's what I love to do, and I found success in it, which I'm very grateful for. Probably in the genes, but yeah. To high school is, at least in North Carolina, when you can try out for varsity. So they have varsity and JV at the school I was at. So I tried out for varsity. I ended up making it as a freshman, but it was probably the most humbling year of soccer I've ever had. It was a year where I did a lot of time on the bench, which, I was surrounded by some of the most amazing players and girls that I still look back and they taught me so much. My game is definitely role modeled after those girls that I was on the same team with as a freshman. But for me, I just felt like the coach really kind of took my love of soccer away. It was really hard and difficult for me. So my freshman year of high school was a little bit more challenging than I liked it to be. And I really had to make a decision at the end of freshman year whether I wanted to continue playing soccer, because it had gotten to the point where it wasn't just necessarily playing for my high school. Of course that was something I loved to do, and some of my best friends were on the team, but it just felt like a place where was soccer something, was I actually as good at soccer as I believed I was I actually going to be able to play college? There was just so many questions, so many unanswered questions floating around in my head. And I remember being in the kitchen talking to my parents whether this was something that I could pursue in college, if I still even wanted to play. And yeah, that year taught me so much about myself, and I will always have sympathy and empathy for the girl that's on the bench, because just because she's not on the field does not mean she's not good. At the very end of my freshman year, that coach called down the whole soccer team after we had finished the season and basically told us that he wasn't coming back. And I think that is kind of the turning point for me, when I was okay, I'll give it another year, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, I'm very grateful for all the experiences that I've had. So I continued to play club, and then it got to my sophomore year of high school, which is when my whole world flipped upside down. My sophomore year, COVID hit. So if you don't know what COVID is, even though I'm pretty sure all of us do, it's this global pandemic that completely shut down everything. There was no school, there was no soccer, there was no socializing basically, and it was probably one of the hardest but such a turning point in my career, my life. During high school is when everyone tends to get recruited for college sports, and specifically for soccer, it's definitely during like your sophomore, junior year of high school, and usually by senior year, a lot of the girls are committed or gearing towards a commitment, sort of verbal commitment. So my sophomore year was very important, and COVID took away basically my entire sophomore year, which is absolutely crazy. And this was just a world that, the recruiting period had never seen before. The NCAA didn't know what was going on, let alone like schools, my own club, like we were not having practices. And even then, once we did have a few practices, it was basically lawn balls for an hour and a half or something like that. So it was kind of like this uncharted world, this uncharted territory. A lot of girls during this time period kind of turned towards film and, videos that they had of themselves. They were emailing like their videos and their films of games to these college coaches. And for me and my team, filming was just never something that we technically like prioritized prior to COVID. We just unless we were at a specific tournament in a championship, something like that, maybe we had a little bit of film, but not necessarily other than the videos that we had like on our parents' phones. So at that time, my dad and I ended up going on a lot of walks together just because we had so much time in the day. So we'd go on like 4 or 5 6-mile walks, and I got really close with my parents and my family. Even though I was already close, I got really close with them because we were in the same house, and I just always talked to my mom and dad. So I never had any form of social media prior to my junior year-ish of high school, which is crazy to think about because I post my entire life online now. So if you look at any of my Instagrams, Twitters, TikTok, YouTube, it's pretty much all out there. And I just love posting. I love social media, and it's given me a lot of opportunities. But prior to my junior year of high school, I had Musical.ly at one point, and that was about it, which is crazy to think about. So I was on a walk with my dad, and I was talking to him, and I've been talking to my mom at the time. And so I decided that I wanted to work with social media to try and get recruited. And this is not something that there was a playbook on or necessarily a role model to model after. It was completely new. So I ended up opening a Twitter account, which is now called X or something like that. So I opened a Twitter account, and for every single day I posted about something I was doing. So either I would go for a run, I would go play soccer, I would go play pickup sometimes, and I always use the hashtag no days off, which ended up kind of being my little thing for a little bit. Not totally sure how it happened, but basically I started gaining the attention of some college coaches through Twitter. So they would follow me, like my posts, stuff like that. I never once tagged a college program until I committed. So that's something that's a lot different than a lot of girls do now, is they tag or they wear college shirts or they do stuff like that. I never wore a college shirt in any of my videos just because I didn't want to deter another school, or I never tagged certain schools to look at it because I just felt like, I was going to find my place based off someone who wanted me, not necessarily, I was dying to reach out to them and deter another school kind of deal. To each their own, but for me, that's what worked best. I'm posting every single day of my junior year of high school, and for most of my senior year as well, using the hashtag no days off, and it did a lot of good for me. So after that, my senior year of high school is when I got Instagram, which is crazy because now I use Instagram every day. So June 15th rolled around, and anyone that plays any college sport, I think, but especially college soccer players, June 15th is the day in which during your junior year of high school typically is when a college coach can actually talk to you on the phone, in person, things like that. During that time, colleges and coaches were not allowed to come to anything, which is crazy. So they did not come to any of our practices, any games, unless they were D2, D3. So the D1 schools were not allowed to come. So during COVID, towards the middle-ish to end is only when D2 and D3, and obviously NAIA and JUCO schools could come to your games. D1 schools could not. So everything just kind of worked out for a reason, because even though D1s weren't allowed to come to practices and games and things like that, My current college coaches were actually D2 coaches at the time, so they had been to a few of my games. You know, I guess I attracted them. I guess I did the right things because they moved to UNC Asheville. My coach reached out to me after one of our summer league games and was like, hey, like, you might want to take a look at UNC Asheville. They seem to be a little bit interested in you, and let's just say the rest is history. I emailed them. I ended up setting up a call with them. You know, the call went really well. I went on a visit there, walked around with the coaches, and I still remember to this day I was sitting in the chair. You know, my 2 college coaches were sitting right here, and I was with my mom, and they offered me a spot to play at UNC Asheville, and just kind of like that little girl in me was always screaming. It was something like, I will never forget that conversation. It was probably one of the best conversations in my life because obviously I'm here now, and, you know, none of this would ever be possible without, you know, the recruiting journey and the COVID time period, the opportunities that Asheville has given me. So yeah, I did August 6th of my senior year of high school, so I went through pretty much my entire senior year committed to UNC Asheville, and to say that I was excited is such an understatement. So prior to this, I had always envisioned myself as like a PT, like a personal trainer, anything around that, like around the world of sports, because I just loved the athletes and being around like the athletic lifestyle. But COVID and the recruiting period made me pivot a little bit, and I found my love of social media through Twitter, through the success I had with that, and then I eventually got Instagram, ended up having success, you know, working on my TikTok, and now I'm working on my YouTube. I mean, to think that I kind of grew a following and grew all this purely based off of like not necessarily having like a role model and only posting soccer is absolutely crazy. But I really honestly, like, if I could go back, I don't think I would change any aspect of it because it definitely made me who I was and who I am to this day. But if you made it to this part of the video, I really truly do appreciate it because this is something that is very near and dear to my heart, and I've always wanted to kind of do sit down videos. I just find them so, like I said in the beginning, I find them so like cute and authentic, and you kind of get to see a little bit more of a personal side than when I vlog or like when I'm editing videos for TikTok or Instagram. Sometimes those are a little bit more perfect than sometimes. So yeah, my Instagram DMs are always open. Don't be afraid to ask questions, for sure. Use your resources super wisely and enjoy the journey because it goes by so fast.